It usually starts quietly, not with a breakdown, not with a dramatic moment, just silence. Late at night, lights off, phone glowing. Another long day done, another day survived. You're tired. But not the kind of tired sleep fixes, the deeper kind. The kind that settles in your chest. You stare at the ceiling, and a thought slips in. Is this really my life? Not angry, not sad, just honest. That question doesn't scream, it whispers, and most people ignore it. They tell themselves it's fine, they'll deal with it later, they'll figure it out someday. So they scroll, they distract, they fall asleep. And the next morning, same alarm, same rush, same routine. Days turn into months, months turn into years, and that quiet question, it comes back, stronger. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. Life doesn't break you all at once. It wears you down slowly. Missed chances, delayed decisions, dreams put on pause, not because you can't, because you didn't act. Let me tell you about someone like you, not famous, not special, just stuck, doing what was expected, playing it safe, telling themselves they should be grateful. But every day felt heavier. Smiling on the outside, restless on the inside. One night, something snapped. Not loudly, internally. They realized something terrifying. No one was coming to change their life. No rescue, no perfect timing, no permission slip. That's the moment everything shifts. Because obstacles don't show up to ruin you. They show up to test you. To ask a single question, will you stay the same or step up? Most people fail that test. Not because they're weak, because they hesitate. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel ready. They wait for fear to disappear. It never does. Fear doesn't leave. You move anyway. But here's what changes everything. That moment when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I being called to become? That's the turning point. That's when frustration turns into fuel. When discomfort becomes direction. When excuses lose their grip, because deep down you already know you're capable of more discipline, more courage, more intensity. But comfort has been keeping you quiet. Comfort lies. It tells you tomorrow is guaranteed. There isn't. Every day you delay is a vote for the same future. So let me ask you something real. When did you stop expecting more from yourself? When did you start settling for good enough? Because of the pain you feel right now? That's not a weakness. That's resistance. That's the part of you that refuses to stay small. And if you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It turns into regret. But if you listen, if you lean into it, it becomes power. This is the moment. Not later, not someday. This moment. Where do you stop surviving and start deciding? Because of the obstacle in front of you, it's not blocking your path. It is the path. And what you do next decides everything. Obstacles feel so heavy because of this. Obstacles don't crush you instantly. They drain you, slowly, quietly, day by day. It's not one big failure. It's the email that didn't come back, the plan that didn't work, the effort that didn't get noticed. Again, and again. And eventually, you stop feeling angry. You feel tired. That's when obstacles become dangerous. Because exhaustion makes people doubt themselves. You start asking the wrong questions. What's wrong with me? Why does this feel harder for me? Why can't I just get ahead? And without realizing it, you turn the obstacle into a verdict about your ability, your worth, your future. That's the real weight, not the problem, the meaning you attach to it. Let me paint a picture. Someone tries, fails, they try again, fails again. At first, they're fired up, motivated, determined. But after a while, their energy drops, their posture changes, their voice softens, their standards slip. Not because they gave up, because they started believing a lie. The lie that resistance means stop. Here's the truth. Resistance means you're pushing against the limit, and limits only show up when growth is happening. Obstacles feel heavy because they challenge your identity, not your skill, not your intelligence, your identity. They force you to confront a terrifying question. Am I really who I thought I was? That question shakes people. Because if your identity is fragile, pressure exposes it. Most people don't lose because the obstacle was too big. They lose because the obstacle made them question themselves. And once doubt creeps in, every setback feels personal. Every delay feels like rejection. Every challenge feels like proof. Proof that maybe you're not built for more. But listen closely. That feeling, that weight, it's not a weakness. It's unfamiliar territory. Your mind wants certainty, predictability. Growth offers none of that. Growth feels chaotic, messy, uncomfortable. That's why people retreat. They don't want to admit it scared them, so they rationalize. Life doesn't slow down so you can catch up. It moves faster. Here's another truth most people miss. Obstacles don't block the path. They reveal it. They show you where your discipline breaks, where your focus drifts, where your belief collapses under pressure. And instead of learning from that information, people take it personally. They say, this is too much. No, this is training. Pressure doesn't destroy potential. It exposes it. So let me ask you something directly. What obstacle keeps showing up in your life? Same pattern. Different form. Is it consistency, confidence, follow through? Because recurring obstacles aren't punishments. They're signals. Signals pointing to the next version of you. But only if you stop running. Only if you stop numbing yourself. Only if you stop pretending it's fine. Obstacles feel heavy because they demand a decision. Stay who you are, or evolve. And evolution is uncomfortable. It requires you to let go of excuses that once protected you. It requires effort when motivation is gone. It requires action when doubt is loud. That's why most people stop here. They don't fail. They stall. They hover at the edge of change for years, talking about what they could do, dreaming about what they might become, but never crossing the line. And that's the real danger. Not failing, settling. So hear this clearly. If life feels heavy right now, if progress feels slow, if obstacles feel relentless, that doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're being invited to step up, to think differently, to move differently, to demand more from yourself. The obstacle isn't asking you to quit. It's asking, how serious are you? And how you answer that question changes everything. Nothing changes until you change. Not your job, not your environment, not the people around you. You. Most people try to fix their life by fixing the outside. New routine, new plan, new goal. And when it doesn't last, they blame themselves. But the problem was never the plan. The problem was identity. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are, not who you want to be. Who do you believe you are? That belief runs everything. How hard do you push? How long will you persist? What you tolerate? Let me show you how this plays out. Someone says they want more income, more confidence, more control. But their actions tell a different story. They hesitate, they procrastinate, they back off when it gets uncomfortable. Why? Because deep down, they still see themselves as someone who plays it safe. Someone who doesn't rock the boat, someone who avoids risk. And every time they hesitate, that identity gets reinforced. That's the trap. Identity is built by evidence. Every action is a vote for who you are becoming. Most people don't lose because they lack talent. They lose because their identity is outdated. They're living by rules written years ago, rules created by fear, by past failure, by other people's opinions, and they never question them. Let me ask you something powerful. Who taught you who you are? Was it a teacher? A moment that didn't go your way? Because at some point you accepted a label. Not confident, not disciplined, not lucky. And you've been defending that label ever since. Even when it hurts you. Here's the shift that changes everything. You don't wait to feel like a new person. You act like one. Identity follows behavior, not the other way around. Strong people don't act strong because they feel strong. They act strong because that's who they decided to be. Decision first, evidence second. Most people reverse that order. They say, once I feel confident, I'll act. Confidence never comes. Action is the door. Identity walks through it. So if you want a new identity, you need new standards. Standards are not goals. Goals are wishes. Standards are rules, rules you don't negotiate with. When you say, "This is who I am now," your behavior has no choice but to follow. Let's get uncomfortable. What standards are you currently living by? What do you allow that you know is beneath you? Late starts? Excuses? Half effort? Every tolerance is a statement. A statement about who you believe you are. And here's the part most people avoid. Changing identity feels like a loss. Loss of comfort. Loss of familiarity. Loss of the old story. But that story is costing you your future. The moment you raise your standards, resistance shows up. Your mind fights back. Who do you think you are? Don't overdo it. This isn't you. That's not intuition. That's the old identity trying to survive. And it will fight hard. Because once you change who you see yourself as, there's no going back. Let me give you a visual. Imagine waking up tomorrow and moving like someone who expects more. You speak differently, you stand differently, you decide faster. Not because life got easier, because you changed the rules. You stop negotiating with the version of you that quits early. That's the identity shift. Not motivation, commitment. So ask yourself this, honestly. Who must I become to handle the life I say I want? Not someday, now. Because you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. And once your identity changes, obstacles stop feeling personal. They become proof. Proof that you're playing a bigger game. This is where real change begins. Not with hope, with a decision. And the moment you make it, your entire life starts to reorganize around it. Here is how to control emotions under pressure. Pressure reveals everything, not talent. Not intelligence. Control. When pressure hits, most people don't lose their cool. They lose themselves. Heart racing, mind spinning, focus collapsing. And suddenly, a small problem feels massive. That's not a weakness. That's biology. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about survival. So when pressure shows up, logic steps aside. Emotion takes the wheel. And if you don't know how to steer it, it drives you straight into overreaction. Let me show you what usually happens. Something doesn't go as planned. A delay, a rejection, a tough conversation. Your body tightens. Breathing gets shallow. Shoulders rise. Jaw clenches. And before you know it, you're not thinking clearly. You're reacting. You say things you don't mean. You avoid what matters. You make decisions you regret. Not because you're incapable, because you let the moment control you. Here's the hard truth. Life will never remove pressure. If you grow, pressure grows with you. So the real skill isn't avoiding it, it's mastering your state under it. Because the person who stays calm wins. Every time. Calm isn't passive. Calm is power. And power is trained. Let me slow this down. Stand up straight. Open your chest. Slow your breathing. Long inhale. Longer exhale. This isn't relaxation. This is a command. You're telling your nervous system who's in charge. And when your body shifts, your mind follows. Now comes the real shift. The questions you ask. Under pressure, most people ask weak questions. Why does this always happen to me? What if I fail? What will people think? Those questions trap you. They shrink your focus. Strong people ask different questions. What matters most right now? What's within my control? What's the smartest move I can make next? One good question can change your entire state. Because pressure feeds on confusion. Clarity starves it. Let me tell you a story. Two people face the same crisis. One panics. The other pauses. Same problem. Different outcome. Why? One person let emotion decide. The other took control. And that control wasn't natural. It was practiced. That's the part no one tells you. Emotional strength isn't personality. It's training. Every time you slow down instead of reacting, you build it. Every time you respond instead of exploding, you reinforce it. Every time you stay grounded under stress, you become dangerous in the best way. Because now, nothing owns you. Not the moment, not the noise, not the pressure. Let me ask you something important. When things go wrong, do you lose focus or gain it? Do you tighten up or step forward? Your answer tells you everything about where to grow. Pressure isn't the enemy, it's the test. And tests don't come to destroy you. They come to reveal what you've trained. So train this. Control your body. Control your breath. Control your focus. Do that, and you control the outcome. Because the person who masters emotion under pressure always stays in the game. And the one who stays in the game, this is how to turn pain into leverage. Pain gets a bad reputation. People run from it, hide from it, numb it. But pain isn't the enemy. Wasted pain is. Every person feels pain. Only a few use it. That's the difference. Most people experience discomfort and immediately ask, how do I make this stop? Strong people ask a different question. How do I make this work for me? Because pain is energy. Raw, unfiltered, powerful. And if you don't direct it, it destroys focus. But if you harness it, it becomes leverage. Let me explain. Think about the moments that hurt the most. Rejection, failure, embarrassment, loss. Those moments stick, not because they were pleasant, because they mattered. Pain burns lessons into your nervous system. That's why it's unforgettable. But here's where most people mess up. They relive pain emotionally. Without extracting its value, they replay it, they resent it, they carry it, but they never convert it, so the pain becomes weight. Here's the shift. Ignoring pain is ignoring feedback, and life will keep sending the same message, louder until you listen. Let me tell you a story. Someone gets knocked down. They feel embarrassed, exposed, questioned. At first they feel anger, then shame. Then self-doubt creeps in. This is the crossroads. One path leads to excuses. It wasn't fair. It wasn't my fault. I'll try again later. The other path leads to leverage. I will never feel this again. I will outgrow this version of myself. I will change whatever needs changing. Same pain, different outcome. Leverage is created when pain is linked to meaning. Pain alone doesn't change people. Pain with purpose does. So ask yourself this, honestly, what pain have you been avoiding? What memory still triggers you? That's not a weakness. That's unfinished business. Because pain you don't face controls you. Pain you face trains you. Here's the rule. The discomfort but never attach a reason strong enough to move. They complain, they vent. Waiting doesn't reduce pain, action does. So here's how you turn pain into leverage. First, name it. Stop pretending it didn't hurt. Call it out. Second, decide what it will cost you if nothing changes. Picture the future if this pattern continues. Same habits, same results, same frustration. That future should scare you. Fear can be fuel if you aim it. Third, attach pain to inaction, not action. Most people do the opposite. They associate pain with effort, with discipline, with change. Flip it. Make staying the same more painful than moving forward. When pain has direction, excuses collapse. Suddenly, discomfort feels necessary. Suddenly, effort feels worth it. And suddenly, you move. Not because it's easy, because you refuse to stay where you are. Here's the truth most people never hear. Breakthroughs are not built on comfort. They're built on urgency. At the moment you decide, I'm done living this way, that decision is powerful, but only if you act on it. Pain gives you the energy. You provide the direction. So don't waste what you've been through. Use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it focus you. Let it drive you. Because pain that's leveraged becomes strength. And strength, once built, never leaves you. Momentum versus motivation. Motivation lies. It shows up when it wants, leaves without warning. If you wait for it, you lose. Most people think they have a motivation problem. They don't. They have a momentum problem. They wait until they feel ready. Ready to start. Ready to commit. Ready to push. That feeling rarely comes. And while they wait, life moves on. Here's the truth. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Motion changes emotion, always has. Let me show you how this breaks people. Someone sets a big goal. They get excited. They feel unstoppable. for a few days. Then reality hits. Energy drops. Resistance rises. Doubt whispers. And they think something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. This is where momentum is supposed to take over. But they never built it, so they stop. Not because they can't continue, because they expected motivation to carry them. It won't. Momentum is built by small wins, unsexy wins, quiet wins, daily wins, the kind no one applauds, but those wins stack. And when they stack, confidence grows. Confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from proof. Let me slow this down. Every action you take sends a signal. The signal that says, I do what I say I'm going to do. That signal rewires how you see yourself. And identity fuels momentum. That's the loop. Action, evidence, belief, more action. Most people never enter that loop. They live in the planning phase. They overthink. They adjust. They research. They confuse preparation with progress. Progress is messy. Progress is imperfect. Progress is moving even when you don't feel like it. That's momentum. Here's a story. Someone commits to change. Day 1, hard. Day 2, harder. They want to quit, but they don't. They show up again. No fireworks. No big breakthrough, just consistency. A week passes, then 2. Something shifts, not in the world, in them. They start trusting themselves. They stop negotiating with excuses. Momentum takes over, and suddenly, what felt impossible feels inevitable. That's the power. Momentum makes the effort lighter. Not because it gets easier, because you get stronger. Let me ask you something directly. What have you been waiting to feel before you act? Confidence? Clarity? Certainty. Those come after you move. So stop asking, do I feel like it? Start asking, what does the next step look like? Not the whole plan. The next step. Because momentum doesn't care about your mood. It only cares about movement. And once you're moving, stopping becomes harder than continuing. That's where real change happens. When discipline replaces emotion. When consistency replaces intensity. When action becomes automatic. This is how people transform their lives. Not in one massive decision, but in hundreds of small ones. So here's the challenge. Today, do something small, something uncomfortable, something you've been avoiding. Not to prove anything to anyone else, to prove something to yourself. Because once momentum starts, it doesn't need motivation, it creates it. And when momentum is on your side, nothing can stop you. Your environment plays a significant role in shaping you. Look around, not casually, seriously. Your environment is speaking to you every day, all day. And whether you realize it or not, it's shaping who you become. Most people think change is about willpower. It's not. What you see, what you hear, what you tolerate, that's the real influence. Let me make this clear. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your environment. Because willpower is temporary. The environment is constant. Think about it. If you're surrounded by distraction, focus is a fight. If you're surrounded by negativity, confidence erodes. If you're surrounded by low standards, excellence feels uncomfortable. That's not a weakness, that's conditioning. Let me tell you a story. Someone decides they want more. More discipline. More clarity. More progress. They're fired up. But they keep the same inputs, same conversations, same late nights, same endless scrolling. And slowly, the fire dies. Not because they weren't serious, because their environment pulled them back. Your environment doesn't argue with you. It influences you quietly. That's why it's dangerous. You don't notice it happening. You just wake up one day wondering why nothing changed. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're not designing your environment, you're outsourcing your future. Other people's habits, other people's expectations, other people's limits. And those limits become yours. So let me ask you something real. Who do you hear the most? Who do you spend time with? What messages do you consume daily? Those answers explain your current results, not your potential, your results. Not out of arrogance, out of survival, because they know something most people ignore. Focus is fragile. Belief is fragile. The environment either reinforces them or destroys them. Let's break it down. Your environment has 3 layers: people, inputs, structure. People. Who pushes you forward? Who pulls you backward? Energy is contagious. So is doubt. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need boundaries. Inputs. What are you feeding your mind? Endless noise creates mental fog. Clarity requires selective consumption. Structure. Your space, your schedule, your routines. Chaos breeds excuses. Structure breeds follow-through. This isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. Making it easier to win than to quit. Here's the shift. Stop trying to be strong in a weak environment. That's exhausting. Instead, build an environment that supports who you're becoming. Remove friction from good habits. Add friction to bad ones. Make discipline the default. Let me slow this down. If growth feels hard, ask yourself, what in my environment is working against me? Because the answer is there. And once you see it, you can change it. Small changes matter. A cleaner space, a better morning routine, more intentional conversations. Those are leverage points. Your environment is either training you or draining you. So choose intentionally, because over time, environment becomes identity, and identity determines destiny. Now this is the final moment to decide. Right now you're standing in line. On one side, comfort. On the other hand, no one is coming to push you. This is where it happens. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because of the obstacle in front of you, that's not the enemy. That's the invitation. So the only question left is this. Who do you choose to be when this video ends? And will your next move prove it? If this video helped you, don't leave without subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and dropping a comment. And share it with anyone who's struggling to break through the obstacles holding them back in life. This is just the beginning. Let's come together to make a better world.